Hi, this is Michael Moss, and I'm down in Mecox Road at Ludlow's Farm with Art Ludlow. And we just stopped by, Art, and thanks for having us to talk about cheese. I was so impressed by the little round brie. And you know, I go to the store and buy cheese. I don't really know the process of making cheese, and I think it's amazing. Can you tell me anything about it? You know?
I follow a recipe for camembert, which is a 4-inch diameter round, about 1.5 inches thick. And the fact that I follow a recipe for camembert doesn't mean it's going to be a camembert, because there's really only one camembert, and that's not here.
Right.
But this is where Atlantic Mist is.
The Swiss cheese that you have is the same process, or it's got a hard outside, it's shell, it's waxed?
Yeah. Well, it's not waxed. It really is a similar process. The whole thing, really, all cheese making is a very similar process from one to another. The interesting thing, the fascinating thing, is that there are subtle changes, subtle things you do along the make process that comes out with a different cheese. And it's actually a Gruyere recipe that I follow for that.
Right.
And instead of having the mold, this particular penicillin mold growing, I just let the opportunistic molds that are in the aging room take place. And
now, these both cheeses come out of the same milk, the same cows, the same whatever.
Yes.
They're all coming out, and you have them here.
Yep.
It's awesome. Can you show us a little of the process, or the room where you do it?
Sure.
So I see the kettles and the steam line. So tell me about the process.
Well, the process, basically, the initial process is very similar to all cheese making. I put the milk in this is actually just a steam kettle. You kind of, on a small scale like I am, you kind of make do with what you can.
Right.
But I put the milk in here, and then I'll heat the milk up to about 88 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And that gets the milk at a temperature that the bacteria will like and will multiply.
Okay, so you're doing the opposite of what I'm doing. Is I'm trying to keep the bacteria away, and you need the bacteria, because as we know, bacteria is also good for food. It's good for our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to induce bacteria.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm actually going to add a culture.
Right.
And I'm going to add what's called a ripening culture, and that is a bacteria that will consume the lactose, which is the milk sugar in the milk, and it will produce lactic acid. Mm-hmm. And the production of lactic acid is what eventually helps the cheese to age and survive.
And that's the temperature that helps the spores grow.
Right. That's the temperature that you need. This is a mold that I obviously put the camembert in, the Atlantic Mist.
These are
and those larger ones are what the other cheeses go in. It's got the holes so that it continues to drain, and it'll drain for this cheese will drain for about 24, 48 hours. After which, I'll take it out of the mold, and then I salt the cheese. Well, salt serves several purposes. One is it stops the acidification process of the bacteria. Mm-hmm. So when I get the pH of the cheese where it should be, depending on the cheese that I make, I'll put the salt on to stop the process so it doesn't get more acidic. That's one thing. Another is salt is a flavor enhancer. A third thing, salt is a preservative. By that, in the aging room, what salt is doing is it's providing a good environment for beneficial bacteria.
The school district uses these. They used to use these to make soups for the kids. Of course, they don't make soup for the kids anymore. They just give them pizza.
That's right.
These are obviously clearly the most aged you have here.
Those are the Gruyere type cheese.
They're beautiful.
And they're just sitting there waiting for the
consumption.
Right time. That's right.
Are they ready for purchase?
No, those are not. Actually, the Gruyere that I'm selling now is aged about 8 months.
Okay.
Typically, a Gruyere is aged for about 18 months.
Oh, okay.
So I'm selling young Gruyere, and over time, I hope to make enough and sell them slow enough that I can gain a few months
Right.
on it.
How
Well,
long did
it
it take
is.
you to get, and what made you start wanting to do this?
Well, it's a long story.
It is.
Well, I've always been kind of interested in it. I've always liked cows, and I've never thought I would ever do it, being a potato grower.
Right.
But 6 years ago, we decided to stop farming potatoes, and then I had my opportunity.
Right.
So, so I went to several cheese making workshops, upstate, up in New England. They're given around in areas where there's dairy usually.
Right.
And those are workshops where there's about a dozen people that make cheese. The instructor explains the process, what goes on. We get cheese recipes, and it's really, cheese making is a natural process.
Sure.
It's something that happens naturally. All I need to be is a facilitator. As long as I help the process along and don't do anything that's going to, harm it, then it should come out okay. It might not be consistent every single time I make it,
right.
But I celebrate the inconsistency because I think it gives variety.
Okay, Art. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Awesome. What an education.